Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. With me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from going with a sweltering Oregon. It's actually not sweltering right now, but it is a-coming. We are here first week of July, and there is a stretch of 5 days that are going to happen here over the 4th of July weekend. We are going to be above 90 every single day and over 100 potentially one day. And that is some sweltering heat for us Oregonians. I'm going to head out to the beach where it should be lovely. So fingers crossed, and I hope all of you are getting ready to have a very happy and safe Independence Day here in the United States. I hope you're making a plan. I hope you're doing a more dry July, and a more dry July might include whether or not it's an alcohol-free day on the 4th of July or just making a plan ahead of time. That's where we want to be. But we do want to prioritize alcohol-free days for our more dry July. I will be including some alcohol-free days this coming long weekend because I want to have 25 alcohol-free days over the course of this month. And to do that, I'm going to incorporate some alcohol-free days on the weekends as well. I am just happy to have you here and hope you are, wherever you are, it's sunny and you are enjoying some getting into the summertime. Or if you're down south or in the southern hemisphere, I hope winter is treating you well, my Australian friends. Today on the podcast, I am joined by Megan Pruitt, and this is a pretty interesting little story. Megan is a young woman who really didn't have experience in the space, but for many reasons, and she'll share those, decided that she wanted to launch her own non-alcoholic premium brand of wine and do the whole thing, produce it. And it's really been, this is a pre-launch story, so she hasn't even launched the wine yet, but I thought it was really interesting. And since this is more dry July and we're looking for options to include that are non-alcoholic, I really want to encourage you to try some new non-alcoholic beverages and maybe some non-alcoholic wines. I know a lot of people tell me they don't think that the non-alcoholic wines are as good as the non-alcoholic beers. And Megan really thinks that she is out to set that story straight with her own brand. It's For the Love Of, and that's the name of the wine, For the Love Of. And I love her branding. I love her story. We'll talk more with it, or she'll share more about that in our conversation. I think you're going to get something out of this. And I want you to think about the opportunities you have in your life to do new things, to ask yourself, am I open to this experience? And what could I do? I hope you love hearing from her. Here is Megan Pruitt and For the Love Of. Hey, Megan, thank you so much for being here on the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. This is going to be a really fun and exciting conversation, not one that I typically get to have. And I just can't wait to learn more about you and about For the Love Of.
Well, thank you, Molly, so much for having me on. I'm so excited to chat and see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah. Folks, I'm just going to tell you, Megan, you're not that old. You're not.
Yeah, I'm not.
Where does a young woman like yourself get this idea that you're going to start your own non-alcoholic wine company? Where does that come from?
It sounds crazy. And I'm very self-aware enough to know that what is, a girl in her late 20s, trying to broach the non-alcoholic sector. It's crazy, but I'm happy to tell you a little bit about it. So, I'm originally from the Midwest. I was born and raised in Kansas City, and was very blessed to have been kind of raised in a household where fine wine, very high quality wine, was always poured in our household. My parents always, we had Friday night spaghetti dinner nights, and nice wine was always poured, and it was just a delicacy in our house. So I grew up always having a really cool relationship with wine, just knowing how it can be served and how it can really elevate any room or any event that you're having. I went off to college and then ended up moving up to Chicago for about 4 years. And that's where I really decided to reevaluate my relationship with alcohol. I'm very blessed to not identify as someone who had an addiction per se, or, struggled with day-to-day life with my drinking, but I found myself not being my best self when I would drink. I never really found that sweet spot of moderation. I feel like that word gets thrown around a lot, but I never really figured out how to moderate drinking. And so it's kind of been on the back of my mind for a really long time. I'm a really hard worker. I'm an athlete. I've run, 2 marathons. And so from the outside looking in, you'd never think, something was wrong with my relationship with alcohol, but it was definitely something in me. So when I moved out to Los Angeles about 2 years ago, it kind of gave me a little bit of the courage to say, okay, maybe it's time, just being immersed in the health and wellness culture of Los Angeles. And so last year, in the spring, I decided to, take it month by month. And it was in February of 2023. And I said, I'm going to take a month off of drinking. And in the midst of that, I started to consume all of the content. I read audiobooks, I listened to the podcasts, I did all sorts of things. And that's where kind of that light bulb moment turned on. And I said, oh wow, this is really what I want to do. So within that, I started to dabble into the non-alcoholic space because, like I said, I'm kind of new to Los Angeles. I'm in my late 20s. I'm currently single, so I'm going out and I'm having a good time with friends. And I wanted something to be able to hold and to drink and to enjoy while out with friends. So that's where all of this came about. And the non-alcoholic space right now is beyond booming with beer and non-alcoholic spirits. But when it came to wine, there was never something that really,
Oh, yeah.
scratched the itch for me.
Oh,
It
I'm well aware. I
yeah,
hear it all the time,
yeah.
especially about the reds.
The red, and especially about the reds, a lot of folks, and by no means of every company out there is doing their best. And I now know how hard it is to start something. So I will be anyone's biggest cheerleader that the fact that they're even out there doing it. But for me personally, and someone who was not only just a lover of wine, a lover of red wine, and a lover of really high quality, good wine. And so when it came to removing alcohol from my life, people asked me, was the decision hard? And my answer is always, it wasn't hard. I just miss really high quality, good wine. And so now we're sitting here today chatting about it.
So, okay. So that's you're driven by a need, which, like I
Yeah,
said, I
it was neat.
totally appreciate because
Yeah,
here on Alcohol Minimalist, we are people that not even moderate, we include alcohol I
yeah,
include alcohol in my life in a minimal way, right?
yeah,
And one of the things I like to enjoy is if I'm going to have a glass of wine, I'm going to have a glass of red and a
yeah,
nice glass. One, for me, it's just
yeah,
one and done. And I really don't, and that's great.
yeah.
But it is a constant for people that are trying to work on changing their relationship with alcohol, trying to, especially for daily drinkers, people that are very used to drinking wine on a daily basis,
Mhm.
the non-alcoholic alternatives. And for me, I drink non-alcoholic beer, and I don't, doesn't bother me an iota. Like it
Yeah,
tastes I'm like, okay, it's perfect. It's
absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
And actually non-alcoholic, many of the non-alcoholic whites, at least in the sparkling sense,
Mm,
many of them to me, I'm like, perfect.
yep,
But yeah, the red seems to be sticking point for people.
exactly, exactly.
So that's where you decided to head. So that's kind of where you started to go first. I'm imagining that's not where you're probably going to stop, but that's where you aimed your target at.
Yeah, so I figured, you know what, let's try the hardest thing first.
Right.
Because this idea came to me about this time last year, and I spent a really long time researching not only the non-alcoholic space in and of itself, which is that those statistics are, off the charts, and it's really fun. It was really fun to really begin exploring where the non-alcoholic sector is going, just not only in the US, just nation
Yeah.
worldwide. Um, I looked into how non-alcoholic wine is made and why hasn't anyone really figured it out? Because you
Right.
look over at the beer and there's some incredible companies just crushing it. I mean, Athletic Brewing,
Yeah.
I could have two Athletic Brewings and you wouldn't think, I would think it's any
Yeah.
other amazing craft beer sitting next to me, but I just no one has been able to figure out the wine. And so um it was all well and good, and it was the idea was there, but I told myself without a product that I would drink and that I know my family would drink, and my family still, drink alcohol and still love wine, if they wouldn't drink it, this journey was going to end and I wasn't going to continue on. But I was able to partner with a fantastic company up in Napa Valley, and partnered with an incredible vineyard up in Lake County, California. And we were able to achieve exactly what I was hoping for.
Well, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's really cool. And to your point, we're not stopping there. So the first collection, we're going to hope to do a collection of 4 reds. So it's all going to be for the love of, and then what we're drinking. So the first rendition is going to be for the love of Cab, and
Mhm.
then we'll be coming out with the for the love of Merlot, for the love of Pinot, for the love of Malbec, and then we'll hopefully bleed into whites and rosés and all of the things.
Oh, really cool. And
Yeah.
I love the brand. So let's talk about that because I know you have worked hard at and you're a young company. True.
Yeah.
Very,
Very
very,
well.
very young, very early on, folks. So don't be sending me emails and ask me where you can get all this because it's
I
not even
know.
out on the shelf yet. So just, spoiler alert, you're going to
Yeah.
have to be patient. But we all want Megan to succeed. So we're going to give her, this is why I wanted to have. And I think people are really interested. So let's talk about the process of dealkalizing, or how do you say it?
I know, isn't it a mouthful?
Whatever, getting rid of the alcohol in
It,
wine. So,
yes, let's
because you had
do
to
it.
learn, I mean, you didn't know that. I'm guessing you had to educate yourself on that.
Yes, I know. I've gotten a lot of questions as, are you a sommelier? Do you own a vineyard? As much as I want to say yes, and hopefully one day I'll have a vineyard of my own. This girl's from Kansas City and now I live in California. So I do not own my own vineyard. But yeah, it was a very large learning curve. And that was another huge piece of it that I just had so much fun exploring, and so much fun just being a sponge and understanding something that I had no idea anything about before, embarking on this endeavor. So how non-alcoholic wine is really created is that there's 2 different types of non-alcoholic wine. One where the grape has never been fermented. And what that means is that there was never alcohol ever present in the wine. So there's a lot of companies that
Don't
do
many
that.
people call that grape juice?
A lot of people do call it grape juice. And, I do have to give people the benefit of the doubt, because that's kind of the backhanded comment people
Right.
have
Well,
gotten. They're
yeah.
like, isn't it just grape juice? And they aren't wrong with that type of non-alcoholic wine. So that's when the wine has never been fermented, and to add, that little zesty flavor that they're hoping for, companies add things like teas, adaptogens, a lot of times some bubbly
Yeah.
attribute. So you can kind of mask that flavor with carbonation. So that's one type of non-alcoholic wine. Another type of non-alcoholic wine is called de-alcoholized wine, which again, that word is like
Right.
horrible and don't say it fast or more than once. Um, but that's where the wine has been barreled, aged, processed like any other traditional wine that has alcohol in it. Um, but then once it has been barreled and aged, it is then taken out and put in a very large machine called a de-alkalizing machine. And through a process called reverse osmosis, it's a very, it won't get into the weeds of it, but it's used a slow spinning cone that pumps air into the wine and then extracts the liquor out of it. It's a crazy process. People are extraordinarily smart and probably well above what I could ever do, but I've partnered with incredible, team that's able to do this. And once the alcohol is then extracted from the wine, you are left with everything that any other traditional wine has except the alcohol. Because that process, it's still been barreled, it's still been aged, that those grapes have still been, immersed in soil and brought up in Lake County, California, that is, you know, perfect weather for this type of wine. And then with the sommelier I worked with, we were able to add just a few ingredients to just heighten what I wanted to achieve with my wine. So what I wanted to achieve is that tongue encompassing feeling when you take your first sip of wine. And it's almost that tingling sensation where your nasal passage hits your throat and you're like, ooh, it's wine. And you get the butterflies in your stomach. It's just kind of that like yummy, yumminess that you get when you drink a really great red wine. So I came to my sommelier and asked him, how can I achieve this? And truthfully, he looked at me and smirked and said, well, Megan, that's the alcohol. And almost dismissed me a little bit. And this is where I just, I'm very fortunate to be the charismatic and kind of go-getter person that I am, because I said, well, that's just not an answer I'm going to accept. I'm going to figure this out. And 3 days later, and gallons and gallons and gallons of wine later, and a lot of trial and error, we were able to do it, just with just a little bit of sugar. By no means not as much as any other traditional wine, but just a little bit of sugar, some yeast protein, and a few other additives to give it that like punchy wine-like flavor.
Yeah, that mouth feel, the whatever that, right? Yeah.
Everyone's been wanting, and really, in my opinion, no other non-alcoholic wine has kind of perfected.
Pretty exciting. That is really cool. Hey, it's Molly, and I just want to talk with you for a minute about Sunnyside. I know I talk about Sunnyside and have been talking about Sunnyside for, wow, 2 years now. And I want to let you know that that is because of not only the results that I see my clients get, but because I know the people at Sunnyside and I know how committed they are to making a product that really delivers, not only in terms of results, but in terms of user experience. They recently launched an Android version of the Sunnyside app, and inside the app, there's new upgrades and ways to support you that really are defined by the user experience. And that is just something that I really appreciate about them. I know you can trust who they are as a company, and that's really important to me. I would love for you to check it out. Go to sunnyside.co/Molly to get started with a 15-day free trial today. So you decide, okay, great, got a product.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a product.
We got a product.
That is by no means the like end of the, the end of the race. So we're just getting started. Talk about a marathon, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about what that looks like after you, got a product.
What do we do? So I've been using the analogy of, I'm a horse walking to the gates to start the race. And before the wine was even created, I wasn't even in the stables. I was out in the pastures doing zoomies, not knowing which way to go. And so getting that product and getting the product in hand and loving the product was, I was able to gear up, to go to the gates. And so then this is where I really perfected the brand in and of itself. So the name For the Love of, where this comes from is why I'm creating this product in and of itself. People ask me, why are you spending money? You don't drink anymore. Why are you spending money on mocktails or trying to find all of these NA, alternatives that you like? And my answer was always, for the love of it. I was always a beer drinker. I was always a wine drinker. I loved a good tequila. Like, there are a lot of attributes about drinking that I loved that remove the buzz or remove any sort of physical change that it gave me. I just really liked the ritual of it.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's where the name For the Love of really stemmed. And from there, I built out what I wanted this company to look like. And I knew I didn't want to just create a non-alcoholic wine company. I wanted to create a community. I wanted to create a mindset that allowed people to say, I'm just doing this for the love of it. Whether that's drinking a $6, latte every morning. You don't have to explain it. It's just what you love. Or I love waking up on Saturday mornings and going to hike. Some people, that's the last thing they want to do, but it's embracing that what you love never needs to be fought or explained or countered. It can just be love.
Mhm.
Uh, and so through that, I built kind of a business model behind that. And that's where I decided to launch on social before even having the product be ready for, the outside world to drink, because I wanted to garner a community that believed in not only, when they take the first sip of wine and they're going to be like, oh my goodness, this girl did it, that a lot of people haven't, but I want them to feel a personal connection to the brand and to say, oh, wow, I saw what she wanted to do from the infancy of this. And I want them to grow with me and I want them to see the hurdles. I want them to see me get super excited because next week I'm going to be launching my website. And that's where I'm going to be garnering all of my CRM list to get, newsletters start
Yeah.
to, and, I'm bringing them along on this journey with me because this whole thing has been a journey. My sobriety has been a journey. It was something I had no idea. I had no one in my life outside of my older brother who wasn't drinking. And it was the wild, wild west. All of my friends looked at me like I had three heads. And it was just, every day was one step forward. And that's how I'm really embracing my company. And I want a slew of people to be there with me and walk this journey with me.
Well, I hope that some of I know that here, like I said, for alcohol minimalists, we prioritize alcohol free days. We prioritize alcohol free days. And when we include alcohol in our lives, it's in a minimal way. And
Yeah.
non alcoholic beverages are ways that we get to enjoy, just like you said, enjoy things about drinking. I mean, the flavor, right? I like the flavor. Like, it's okay to enjoy that and still want to minimize alcohol in our lives for all the reasons that people, even I always say it's really not that different than being completely sober, because I don't, I'm not looking to ever overdrink. So I'm never looking to get that buzz. I like to be able, and I for one can do that. And so I wanted to go back to the dealcoholization process, whatever, how we ever say that, for a minute, because a question that I often get from people, and I think what you kind of described really kind of explains it, is people always say to me, is like, well, why is it as expensive as a regular bottle of wine? And I'm always like, well, because, and you just said it, like the process is the same. The bottle, when you create wine the right way, or a non alcoholic wine the right way, it's actually goes through being a wine. And then we have to add on another process.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up because that's something I have toyed with. And I am very aware that this isn't a need, this is a want. And ensuring that my price point is somewhere that is acceptable to people of the masses and that you can drink on a Tuesday night, but it also gives value to what this product is. So I'm going to be retailing my product at $34.99, which is on the higher end. But the reason for that is goes back to what I wanted to achieve here. This isn't just a non-alcoholic wine. This is a premium non-alcoholic wine that is 100% Cabernet. When I started this journey, I got a lot of, especially from my team, that said, how about we do a red blend? It'll be a lot cheaper to make. And, there's a lot of different things that you can, fluff up to ensure that your margins are a little bit better, especially because you do have to take in mind when the alcohol is extracted, you lose about 30% of your volume.
Oh, yeah. So,
So it's even more expensive to produce than, your traditional
right.
wine. If $34.99 for someone is too expensive, I understand that. But you know what? Some premium wines are too expensive for other people. And there are incredible products for that price point if that's what the quality that they want. But, I want to attract people who love wine. It doesn't matter if you drink wine, it doesn't matter if you drink alcohol, you don't drink alcohol, you're kind of toying with maybe not drinking as much alcohol. This wine is really for anyone who wants a really high quality, delicious tasting wine. It just doesn't have alcohol in it.
Oh, I love this. I really do. I love the fact that you are, you know, again, not everybody like decides to drink less or drink or not drink at all and then decides to go start their own non-alcoholic company.
No,
So,
I know I can raise my
and
hand, but I'm the crazy one. I know it's a crazy world, but yeah, it really stemmed from a need, and I was frustrated that there wasn't a product that I wanted to drink. Um, and so that's again when the light bulb went off, and I said, if this isn't if no one has done it yet, why not me? Why
Mhm.
not me? And my background is in brand marketing. I've done advertising and brand marketing for the last 7 years. And so I have that footing underneath me, and building a brand has always been something that I've been passionate about. As a consumer, there's nothing more invigorating than finding a brand that just like you see their content and you're like, yes,
Mhm.
this is how I feel. This is how I feel versus I mean, I love a good editorial shot, and I love, the glamour and glitz of what companies can provide, but that real authentic truth is what people are looking for and what people want. And I hope I can be that for a lot of people. Again, whether they're contemplating cutting back on alcohol, whether they're just looking for a really good drink to binge watch The Bachelor, or they haven't drank in 30 years and would like a glass of wine. So it really is for everyone.
Well, this is really exciting, Megan. So, you kind of hinted that you're just about getting ready to launch your website. So, yes, folks, I will share in the show notes where you can connect with Megan right now in terms of all the socials. By the time this drops, you may have already done it. So, what's your launch date?
Yeah, so the launch is we currently have a launch of just the fall of 2024. So if you follow on Instagram at Drink for the Love of, or across, TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, all of the things. I'm on all of the platforms. I'm gonna keep all of my followers as up to date as possible. Like I said, we're really gonna be, holding hands on this in this process together. And so once I have a launch date, I will, tell
Yeah,
the
yep.
community. I will tell them, and from where people can purchase this, it's going to be able to, you can purchase it on my website once it's available. The beauty of non-alcoholic drinks is that we can ship them
Yeah,
nationwide. There's
right.
no populations. So whether, you're on the East Coast, Midwest, or where, anywhere in between, we can get my wine to you. And then this first round will be, there's going to be some local places in Los Angeles that you'll be able to get the wine. So if you're in LA, we'll definitely be posting of where you can get it in real time, both on-prem and off-prem at some restaurants,
Yeah.
and then some brick and mortars. And so yes, but I'll keep you guys all posted. And yes, it's just, I'm very excited to continue, explaining what all of this is, what I'm doing, how, we're really disrupting the non-alcoholic wine category in and of itself, because it's time to move some of that static energy, and it's time to debunk the narrative that NA wine tastes really crummy. And I'm really hoping to be that person to do it.
Well, I am rooting for you. So I am rooting for you and really happy to share this story. Folks, go check it out on the social. Go check it out. Get on the mailing list when the website gets live, so that you can be a part of this community and be a part of For the Love Of. So when this launches, Megan's going to ship it to you wherever you are. And for those of you listening down in California, you might be able to go pick it up down in the LA area. Really, really exciting stuff. And Megan Pruitt, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing that little glimpse. And maybe you'll come back here in the fall when things are even a little further along down the pike, and tell us again and get us excited all about the launch. Does that sound good?
I would absolutely love to. Molly, thank you so much. And I'm excited to be back and share exciting new updates in a couple of months.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Hey, thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 3 ways. You can learn about them over at www.mollywatts.com/workwithme. Or better yet, reach out to me directly. It's molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and discuss what's best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going.